How's everybody doing? Another Tuesday
Good.
night. We're back. We got Justin Baggs, the Creative Monsters creator. We got Blue Hawks, Jon Shearer, Jake Malik up top. Still waiting on Homerun 61, Power and Judge. I don't know what's going on with that.
We'll talk about that.
We'll get to that at some point. So, Justin, welcome to the show. How you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm doing really well. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. So, tell us before we start. Tell us about Create Monsters for the people that don't know.
Creating Monsters has been going on for about 15 years, starting in January 12th next year. My soon-to-be 20-year-old son at the time was basically just hanging out with dad, typical dad and son time at the gym. And we're at another facility back then where I was an assistant coach. And I was very fortunate enough to have three kids with me I still train them to this day, matter of fact. So that's going 15 years now. Uh, Basically, the point where a little 5-year-old was going, "Hey, Dad, you're creating monsters," and it just stuck in my head, and I've been
All
doing
right,
it since. Yeah, so a little
hold
5-year-old
on.
creator.
I got to bring this comment up because I swear, and JB, Justin, John can all corroborate the story. We were just saying before the show started to one another how John looks like he's younger than me now. He looks like he looks like he's in his 20s. I mean,
Yes,
I love this comment because this is exactly what I said. I said to John, I said, "Are you trying to look like me?
Hey,
Or
look,
trying
the
to steal my
Dolphins
thunder?"
winning games makes me younger. So the more they win, the
Oh,
younger I
God.
feel.
It took him less than 2 minutes to bring that up, and I knew he would.
guys,
You
we have a
couldn't even
guest. We got a guest. John's looks, although they may be important to a woman in Pennsylvania, are not important to any of us.
Oh.
See, John, I got you off the hook. You owe me.
Thank you.
So after you created the brand, which I got to give your son a lot of credit. That was an awesome name. Who are some of the people you've had the opportunity to train so far?
Currently, I've been working with a center named Jeremiah Kalani. He's playing for the LA Rams right now. Trent Irwin with the Cincinnati Bengals. Jesse Bates, Cincinnati Bengals. Lane Johnson with the Philadelphia Eagles. Trying to think who else on top of my head. Uh, Baseball wise, Daniel Zamora, LA Dodgers, Chris Campos, LA Dodgers, Harrison Spawn, Marlins organization, Carlos Morales, Milwaukee Brewers, and then a ton of college athletes at the D1 all the way down to NAIA level, and then obviously enough with the Jordan brand too as well.
So now, being a personal trainer, that's got to be a pretty competitive business. And imagine, you know, people can just try and take your clients and everything, and your reputation and who you've worked with has got to be a huge deal as far as why people would come to you because they can see their success and their failures on the field, right?
Correct. I mean, it's not a numbers game for me anymore. It's not like I tell anyone that I work with, I'm not here to put your name on the wall or your jersey, hang up your jersey. It's like if you want to give me a jersey, that's cool. But I take pride into my job. I take pride into my work. I take pride into the person I'm working with. And it's the point where when they perform on the field, good or bad, I take credit for it. Even if they do really bad, they get hurt. I feel responsible personally. But sometimes it's just freak accidents. But when they do really well, I listen like any dad. You take pride in your kids. Like I don't even call them my clientele. I call them my kids. I am the old man in the group. So but they are younger than me, so I treat them like they're my own child. And I look out for them. I just kind of text them, call them, hey, how's it going? Especially with adults, they have kids too, so I think I relate well to them. And like me being a dad myself of two kids, two boys, so I can relate in that level rather than just treat them like a clientele. And it's like, hey, give me your money. And it's not about the money for me. So you
Yeah.
know. A lot of trainers these days are just looking for credibility. I don't look for credibility. I look for quality in an individual. So I think that's why I've been able to last 20 years in the industry and 15 years in the business is that I literally put my heart and soul into the individual, and the quality of training that I provide for them is top notch.
Yeah. So you talk about training, and JB kind of brought it up. Said, "Oh, I'm waiting for Judge to hit 61," but I wanted to ask you, and you might have some good insight on this. Is the last couple seasons, somewhere in the regular season, so I'm not jinxing anything here by saying this, Judge has been, out usually somewhere in the middle of the season, out for an extended period of time with some sort of injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know his workouts probably. You don't know the extent of what he does, what his recoveries are, but he is a freak in terms of just his size and the sport he plays. There's not a lot of guys like him. Do you have any insight that you might be able to say why maybe this season, maybe what he may have changed or what he could be doing has prevented him from getting hurt, as opposed to maybe why he was hurt the last couple seasons as much as he was?
I mean, personally, I don't know him individually. I don't know the guy he's working with. So, I mean, other than do you look in the past regiments that he's probably done? I mean, he probably, like any athlete, they post him up on YouTube. It's probably just they probably changed up just a little bit as far as maybe a mobility issue. And, it could have been where he was lifting heavy throughout his whole career. And that's why he's getting injured. And these guys probably tailor back saying, hey, let's look at longevity now. And I just had it's funny that you said this. I just had a discussion with our minor league pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers organization. He's been in the league already for 4 years. He's at the cusp of making AAA into the majors, and basically the point where if you're consistently doing this, we only want you to focus on this for this off season. Great. Okay, so now you're AA going to AAA, and if you keep continuing this route, you'll be called up pretty soon. And now what we did was he was working out with another facility, and then same thing, injured. Not saying that the other facility was causing the injury, but it just didn't know his body as well as they should have, And then he comes to me. He wasn't very strong enough, so he's topping out at, I think 91, 92 average at lefty, and I see potential him being a 5 and 6 at the time. And so I'm like, all right, let's work on strength and work on plyos. And then now going into this minor league season, he's throwing 3 and 4 consistently. So he gained 2 miles per hour just during off season period with me, and then carrying that 3 and 4 range all the way to the end of the season. And so their coach is telling him, hey, let's work on this regimen here. I like it, and you'll be called up pretty soon. And so now I'm telling him, let's work on the corrective stuff, longevity now. Let's look on past this future now. Because you've been in this minor league for 4 years now. Let's think about the future rather than going, okay, let's get stronger again. Let's do all this stuff that we've done in the past, but now let's think about the future now. So let's work on mobility, corrective exercises, range of motion, just body flow in general. And then once you start throwing again, then we'll start incorporating that strength training again there. And we just started doing that this week already. And his body was going, whoa, I've never done this before. But I think he's in that range where he'll hit 5 and 6 in no time at all. So I think awesome. With Aaron Judd, he's on that verge of, I think what he does, he's just changed the entire routine, eating regimen, mobility, stuff like that. I mean, just you see how his body moves, how a big frame. It's not like stiff like it was in the past 2-3 years ago. It's fluent, even with his swing. My master's is in biomechanics, so I teach biomechanics at a junior college over here in California. So that's all I do is I study movements. And so watching Aaron Judd swing and a lot of batters swing, it's an easy flow. I'm like, oh, okay, now I know what his body's doing, what he needs to work on, or what he's done, I guess you can say.
Yeah. So all right, let me ask you this then, since if you know biomechanics, so I can get into a little more nitty gritty stuff with you then. Albert Pujols, who, John, I know you don't like him. I don't want to hear it. Just don't say a word. We'll talk about that after. He hit number 700 recently. And overall, this has been one of the better seasons we've seen from him in the last, let's just say 5 years, just to simplify, right? He looks better than he has in the past. Is there anything you've seen from him on the field, or in his stance or the way he's taking at bats. Have you seen anything that's maybe giving you any indication why he's hitting better and he's looking like he used to a little bit more? I mean, understanding that he's a little bit older, but he's starting to look a little bit like what we used to expect from Albert.
And it's funny you said that because I actually know the guy who works with him down in Orange County. So Reed, he's a great trainer. He's a great coach. So basically, same thing. He went back to, okay, let's work on the things that you weren't doing in the past, and that's what he does really well in his business with a lot of baseball players, is that he finds the little stuff that the player's not doing, and he finds their strengths and weaknesses, and he just picks on it. And that's what we do over here too. So it's just kind of like everyone has their own type of style of addressing different things. I think what Albert was that a lot of things is that him being older, his body just was worn down from all that just wear and tear, I guess you can say, of being so powerful and then carrying that weight with him too as well, where they kind of want to step back and going like, we're going to just work on just basic movements, reintroducing yourself to your body. We got to think about when you retire, you'll be able to move around for your kids and stuff like that in general. And he bought in, and look how well he's doing right now.
I know it looks like he's returning to his younger self, right?
Yeah, it's just too bad he couldn't do that stuff with the Dodgers when he was with the Dodgers. So I mean,
so Justin,
I'm an LA fan, so
Hey, at least you're honest.
Yeah.
So last couple of years, the pandemic, a lot of people gained weight, haven't been as active. How has it been different for the athletes the last couple of years with your workouts for them, with, us not being able to go out and do what we normally would, like 3-4 years ago?
Well, it's more like a mental thing. I think that's probably the best thing to address it is just mentally, because it was taxing for all of us, and it was very high stress level and more of a fear, I guess you can say, and that whether if it's okay to go in, stay in, go out, and then you have individuals not aware of what's going on, just live in fear. And so it was more like of a mental aspect when we were working here. And I'm not gonna lie, during the pandemic it did hit us in a certain way, but I kept my doors open. I worked. We did the whole sneaky, three taps on the door. We knew it was their person. Open the door for a little bit. Come in. If the door closes, you can't come in. Park away from the facility. We did all that stuff there because I knew that this is what the individuals needed. They needed something, a routine, because they're on a routine as it is, and so to take them out of that routine, it would have been mentally tasking for them, and they didn't know what to do. Or, we found ways to work with individuals still, Zoom, home workouts, online stuff, and more importantly, just checking in on them, just individuals to see how they were. So for during the pandemic, it was just more like, can we mentally get these guys in tune still, and the girls too, don't get me wrong, and the girls, keep them in tune as far as knowing what the goal is still at hand, that they still have to play, and still keeping communication with their coaches and see what the season was going to be like, and if they are going to do it, how many games, so on and so forth. So we were just preparing for them for that number of games. And even like during like the football season, we were still unaware of whether we're going to do it, what are the protocols they have to do. So me being a coach too as well at a junior college, we were trying to figure out as we go. Like we were getting tested 3 times a week. I was getting tired of just getting stuff up my nose all the time, And my junior college still has to do. We're still doing the testing twice a week for our school. So, and we still have to wear a mask in our university too. So everyone's different, and whereas a couple other junior colleges down the street, they don't test. Ours is just being protocol test. Safety oriented. We get tested every Monday, Thursday in order to play on Saturday. And it's still stressful. It's still mentally stressed for us, just making sure everyone's hey, did you get tested? Hey, we're negative, all that stuff in general. That's what it really hurted everyone too.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's awesome. So another thing, I mean, what that you've done throughout your career, you've built great relationships with brands. You know, you work very closely with the Jordan brand. You travel from coast to coast. You've worked with UCLA, if I'm correct, right? You know,
Yeah, University
uh,
of Colorado. I was their strength coach for a little bit.
University of Colorado. I mean, you've been all over. You travel from, Beverly Hills, LA, New York City, Philadelphia. How have you been able to create these bonds and build your business doing that?
Well, at first, when I first started with Jordan, I wasn't even aware that the person that linked me with them was even affiliated with Jordan. So come to find out, her dad was actually the VP for Jordan. So, and then when they interviewed me and brought me on board, they just kind of said like, "Hey, what can we do to represent you, or what can you do for us?" And um, that's when I told him about my son, because my son's born on the 23rd, and I was like 23, Michael Jordan 23, and they kind of like the concept that not only they're if I be working for them, I'll be representing my child at the time, So, but traveling and doing all that stuff in general, it just kind of built over time. So when I started working on one individual, I would just work on this individual. Then they brought their friends, and they were referring me. Everything I've been doing is all referral basis. So anything on social media wise, I'm not really good at it, which is really bad to say. But I get text messages or calls like, "Hey, you worked on my buddy. Hey, you worked on my boyfriend or my husband and wife or so and so, or just referred." And we make the connections there, and I just fly out to them, and that's how I develop my business. And now it's more like during the season, I'm probably on a plane every maybe a couple weeks or so, and then I work over here at home um, Monday through Sunday, and then on the off season, I'll travel as much as possible just to build up so many other relationships too with the other facilities or organizations to make sure that they're all happy, and just not like be like an ego, like, oh, this is me, stuff like that. I like to build relationships like, hey, what can I do for you to help you out? And it's kind of like I will follow your lead. This is not me, but this is what I did with off season with this individual. So that's how I got the job with the LA Rams this past off season. So this training camp, I was with them, and because I had worked on three individuals, and they were kind of like, hey, like I like that, and the strength coach told them, and they told, hey, I think you might want to talk to the guy we worked with in the off season. And after they talk to me, they go, hey, do you want to come in and help out a little bit? I guess you could say, check out what we do. I'm like, yeah, sure. And I came in, and here we go, training camp. I was there every day, from the morning to the afternoon till they got done. And then anyone who was on IR or that needed extra work, I was just there as an assistant. I didn't take any charge. I was like, hey, what do you guys need me to do? So I just follow the script. If I had some input, I'll make sure to go talk to them, say, hey, can I do this? Yes or no? No. Okay, don't worry. Can I do this? Yes. All right, I'll do that. So I was always making sure I'm on everyone's good note, good graces, I guess you can say.
So you brought up social media. That's the biggest craze right now. Everyone has their workouts on Instagram. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, and why?
It's a little bit both. I'm not gonna lie, it's great to show what you can do. You're showing your style, I guess you can say. But then in the end, there are some bad styles. I'm not to throw anyone on the table, but um, me personally, and I just told this to my son on, like, I think like Friday or Saturday, because he was like, "Dad, why do you have so many posts on yours?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not gonna lie, I need to remember all my workouts, so that's my only way of remembering what I did, so I can write it down." He's like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah. Sometimes when I post something up, I think about it, I'll post it, and I'll that's my way of remembering things." And I think that's a great tool for me to remember stuff. Not to sound like I got the greatest stuff in the world, but it hits. It does what his job does. But I think a lot of people now these days are just carrying a little overboard with their styles of training. They got this person on their workout when probably they only worked out for one time, but they're using their name for clout, all that stuff in general.
That's awesome. So how could people get in touch with you if they were interested in working with you?
You can go on IG, so this Creating Monsters on IG, or my personal one is CM_JMags. It's still on the Creating Monsters IG page. Same thing on Facebook, and then we have a website called cmonsters.org.
Awesome. Well, we definitely appreciate you taking the time, Justin, coming down tonight. You're welcome to hang out a little bit if you want. We're going to talk about some other stuff. But, guys, if you're out there looking for a trainer, you're in high school or college, play sports, and you want to get, a trainer that knows what they're doing, one of the best in the game, you got the guy right here. Definitely go to that website, go on Instagram, and, this way you get to that next level.
All right, guys, really appreciate it. And let me know when I come back on. I'll do it.
Thanks, Justin.
Appreciate it, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Have a great one, man.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we wanted to, you talked about Judge, and he hasn't hit it yet. He just got walked again. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't really intentional.
So
it wasn't. No, John. If you watched the at-bat, it was not an intentional walk. Like
nah,
it was
here, a full.
It was an 0-2 count, and then he just got walked. Like it just happened. It's not like Judge got he got strikes. He just didn't get a hit. Like it just happens.
Yeah. So on Twitter at like 6 o'clock, I asked who is the greatest home run hitter of all time, and I've got like 300 responses so far.
Easy.
So let's see what you guys have to say. I know who John's not going to say.
I know John's not going to say, but I'll hear it. What is John's answer?
Joe, we're going to go with you first because you're the answer that is going to be out there.
I think Babe Ruth has got to be the greatest. I mean, just the way he hit the ball, and he was in the stadiums that are a lot bigger than the ones they have today. I mean, some of those like center fields were almost 500 feet dead center for a lot of those old stadiums that he would hit in. So, like, I think it's got to be Babe Ruth. And then I think Hank Aaron would be number 2 right behind him. I mean, it's really interchangeable, but for me, I think Ruth just slightly ahead of Hank Aaron. That'd be my number 1. And
that was actually a decent response. I was impressed. I figured he was going to give something stupid. I thought he was going to say like Harold Baines or something.
No, I hate Harold Baines.
I know you do. That was a joke.
All right, so now we're going to go to Jake to see what he has to say on this.
I mean, this comment, I think, says it all. I mean, JB, it's the incredible Barry Hulk. I mean, he was great before the alleged PED usage, and guess what? He was just as good after. Barry Bonds hit tape measure home runs like nobody. He hit tape measure home runs like nobody else. Barry Bonds was so scary at the plate because they knew how well he could hit, but they would walk him in almost any situation, which to me is the ultimate sign of respect and fear all at once, and it shows just how phenomenal of a hitter you are. And John, I actually agree with your number 2. Funny enough, I was thinking the man himself, Hank Aaron, Hammer and Hank, had to be my number 2. I mean, if you want, for those who might complain about the PED usage, Hank Aaron would be your number 1 then in that case, because there's no funny business with Hank Aaron that we know.
You're dropping Ruth to 3rd, or is he not even number 3 on your list?
I think he's probably he might be number 3. I have to think about it. It's nothing against him.
Listen, there's no answer to this. I mean, this is a fascinating question.
Look, I think Babe Ruth is one of the greatest hitters of all time, no question. But I also think that, I mean, granted, we don't know what we know about Barry Bonds, but kind of mentioned Barry Bonds walked in bases loaded situations, right? He'd be walked anywhere, anytime, because they were that afraid of him. I don't know that Babe Ruth wasn't, but I don't know that he was, which again, to me, that shows that ultimate sign of fear and respect that, man, this guy can really just beat us like it's nobody's business.
I find it interesting, Jake, that I'm looking at Barry Bonds' stats. He has 0 50 home run seasons. Aside from the 73, there's no other season where he hit 50. Did you know that? I mean, I just find that crazy, like how many home runs he has. He's never broke 50 outside of that one. Yeah,
you know what? I think what that says to me instead, I mean, I'm sure he's got a bunch
because kind of like Cam Newton's MVP season. It's like
I'm sure,
one magical season. Yeah.
John, I'm sure he's got a bunch of 40-plus seasons.
Yeah, he definitely does.
I would guess in his – how long was his career? Don't tell me. Just don't tell me how many seasons of 40-plus. How many?
It was about 21 years.
I would guess at least 6 years were 40 plus.
So he never hit 40 until he got to San Fran. He never broke
Okay.
40. In the first year
So
he
how
was in
many-
San Fran, he broke 40.
How many times did he hit over 40?
So in San Fran, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Seven.
5, 6, 7, 8
Seven.
times.
8
I got
times. All right, even if it's 7 times.
Oh no,
That's
it was
my
8. I didn't count
All
the
right,
7.
so 8 times. That's my point. That's now,
So
and it's nothing against
In
anybody else.
14
It's just
years,
incredible.
in 14 years in San Francisco, he hit 8 seasons of 40 or more home runs.
That's pretty good. So that's my point. Even though, yes, he didn't hit 50 maybe, but he was hitting 40 plus. That's pretty consistently incredible.
And
which
those
is kind of
other
what I get.
years, he only so in 14 years in San Francisco, he hit 30 or more home runs all but 3 years. And really,
That's-
I mean, the 1 year he got hurt, he only hit 5 home
There
runs.
you
He
go.
got hurt. And then the last 2 years it was 26 and 28. But that, I mean, he was aging.
And that's still pretty good. I mean, you're talking about almost 30 again anyway. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, he
And
was at
again-
the end of his career. Yeah.
that's my point. When you're talking about the end of his career, you're thinking he's going to get like 10 if
Yeah.
he's lucky because he's getting older.
Right.
He's still cranking them out. That's
think
kind of my
about-
point.
And think about how many years, how many at bats he lost to intentional walks.
Oh,
Nobody was
absolutely.
intentionally walked.
Could
like
you
that.
imagine how many
No.
home runs he'd have?
No, his like I told you guys before, his number of intentional walks from age 37 to the rest of his career is more than anybody in the history of baseball. And that's just
what-
from age
yeah.
37 on.
Could-
It's not counting
so-
before age 37.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, he was walked 500 times in his career, and I'm just making this up completely.
Yeah.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's say half of those would have been hits.
So he
Just,
was walked.
just half.
So
And
he
even
was
if half
walked
of that
2,000
was home runs, he'd have over an extra 100 home runs.
So he was
So
walked
I'm gonna
2,000
say.
2,558 times. How many times he was walked?
So I'm gonna say it's got to
Oh my
be.
God.
It's got to be Ruth because he had 11 home run seasons over 40. He had a bunch over 50. You know, he obviously had the 60, which before Maris was,
Yep.
number one. But, you're not really falling that far to number 2. And you got to give Hank Aaron some props in here, too. I mean, the guy was the home run king
Absolutely.
before Bonds took that over. So.
Depends on who you
1,
ask.
2,
Some people
3.
still believe it's Hank Aaron.
Right. I mean, if you take a dice, a 3-sided dice, and roll it, you can take any one of those 3. You're not losing.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying you're wrong.
No.
By the way, Jake, that 2,552, that's the walks. It's not
Yeah.
counting intentional walks because they're separate. 688 intentional walks. So he was walked.
So I was
counting
close. I
intentional
said 500.
over
How many walks
3,000.
did he have?
So he had 2,552
Fine.
walks and 688 intentional walks. They're
So
separate.
combined, he has over
3,000 walks.
3,100 walks, right?
So
Yeah.
Ruth had
said 25,
2,062 walks. How many
And
at
then
bats did he
100.
have?
What's that?
How many at bats did he have?
Give me 1 second.
It should say on his.
9,847 at bats.
So you mean to tell me nearly a third without JB giving me the actual number here? I can just do a general,
And the
division in
walks
my head.
don't-
You're
The walks don't count as at bats.
Yeah.
okay. You're right. So
Here.
that'd be
Good
about a
answer.
quarter. So that'd be a quarter of his at bats then, approximately.
Yeah.
What is the
Yeah.
actual number, JB? Because I figure you're
That's
trying
about. It's about a quarter.
Yeah.
About a quarter
The
of it.
plate appearances,
So-
he is 12,606, counting the walks.
Okay. So yeah,
So
that's
Ruth
a
had
quarter of his
84.
walks.
83.99 at bats. So, I mean, a little bit less as far as the number of at bats.
Fun.
I know Aaron's at bats are higher. I know that for a fact. But once again, you're splitting hairs when you
I mean,
decide.
You're
You know,
not
who's
choosing
better.
the wrong answer ever. I mean, any
Yeah.
of those.
And Ruth probably plays longer if not for his health. I mean, because
probably.
he
Oh
obviously,
yeah.
Yeah,
if not for his health, he probably plays longer and hits more home runs.
I think
guess.
if he played longer, he'd be the undisputed number one,
Yep.
and this wouldn't even be a conversation.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I think it's the fact that his health got in the way that we can even have this conversation, which is so incredible to think.
I think
There's
the greatest swings ever are Babe Ruth and Ken Griffey Jr. The two purest swings. If I had to guess, if I had to
I
say,
won't
even though
argue
I
with
never
that.
saw Ruth, I would say those are the two purest swings.
See, I won't argue
the
with
thing
that.
with Griffey is if he didn't get hurt, Griffey Jr., he may be the home run king right now.
It
I
might be.
completely agree.
You're right.
You know, he was
Again, splitting hairs here with
phenomenal
guys that are
pace.
phenomenal players. I mean,
And once he went to Cincy to be with his dad, like he wasn't the same. He wasn't
No.
the same guy.
No,
No.
not at
notice
all.
how none of us mentioned Albert Pujols, though. He's a great home run hitter, and there's no
Yes,
question about it.
Not taking anything away from him.
No,
except
Man,
it's
I
he's
just
love
God.
you, Jake. You just
Yeah,
making
just-
this. Just
I know you're thinking it, but we got to give him his flowers right now. I mean, he hit 700. I mean, I don't care what you think of him, John. I don't care if you think he's the worst 700. I don't want to
he
hear
is.
it. I don't want to hear it though. The point is, the man hit 700, and that's pretty incredible. That is a special milestone. I mean,
That is
no matter what you feel about him, that is an incredible milestone that only a few players in all of baseball have ever had. That's you got to admit that's impressive,
Yeah.
whether you
one
like
of
him or
four.
not.
oh, without a doubt.
1 of 4. Yeah.
You know, it's
Unbelievable.
not even a handful have done it. That's
Yeah,
just insane.
yeah.
Does anybody ever in our lifetimes, us 3, does anybody ever get to 700 again?
I think it's
We ever see
possible.
Judge or
Well,
or
I'll tell you,
any-
it's not going to be. Hold on. I'll tell you, it's not going to be Judge because Judge got a late start to his career,
and he's injury prone.
not even that, but even if he wasn't injury riddled in his career, he just started late. I mean, he's already 30 years old, and he's only been in the league, I think, 5 years, 6 years maybe. So, and again, it's going to take a guy like Bryce Harper who got into the league when he was like 19 years old, and you're going to have to set the league on fire for 20
Yeah,
years.
because-
So you're like 39 and be consistently that great. And even then, it's going to be hard. I don't know that
Think
we
about
will.
it. If you play 20 years and hit 30 home runs a year, you're still 100 short.
Yeah.
You know, so and that's phenomenal. If you tell me
Yeah,
you can hit
yeah.
30 home runs 20 years in a row, that's insane.
Yeah.
So did they have minor leagues like they do today? Like, did they have anything close to that back in Babe Ruth's day?
They
You know
had
what I mean?
minor
Like,
leagues,
did
but
they
it's
have
not
to
the
go
same.
through a minor league system, or did they just get called up? I know they had other leagues where there was like the Monarchs and stuff like that, but like, did they have to
No,
go
I
through?
don't.
You know what I'm
Not to
asking?
my knowledge.
Same.
Not to my knowledge was there a system where we have, what we have today, which is, oh, well, you'll go and you have to fight your way up and then you'll make it. No,
You have
not
to go
my
through
knowledge.
low A ball and high A ball, and then it's like,
But that's not the case for everybody. Don't
no, I
think
know.
that,
I'm just
if
saying,
there
like,
are
I'm
some guys that
curious.
that go through the system.
Don't forget, Albert Pujols wasn't, automatically in the league. He didn't just, automatically get put on St. Louis. I don't know if you guys know the story. The story goes basically, Mark McGuire was still there and basically told, I forget who the manager was at the time, but basically said,
Russa?
yes, you're right, it was. So he went to La Russa and said, you better call this kid up because if you don't, you're making a mistake. And Pujols actually took McGuire's spot. McGuire moved to the bench and they never looked back. But yeah, so it's funny that you're talking about the minor leagues. Pujols didn't start just automatically on the opening day roster when he started. He had to work his way up. He didn't just get put on the roster and said, "Here you go, kid." He went through it. Now he didn't maybe go through it like a guy like Judge, who it took him a couple extra years maybe to get to that point, but it still took time for him to get up to the majors.
Well, yeah,
So-
I mean, with that, there's not a lot of guys that come up very quickly. It takes
You're right.
the minor league system set up for a reason the way it is. Baseball
Well,
to be
that's-
one of the top players, it takes you time. You have to mature.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it looks.
So
No,
that's
you're right.
something I wanted to ask because I've been wondering that. Like, if you have a top prospect,
Yeah.
at some point, do you think in baseball they should start just pushing that aside and start calling them up sooner instead of making them go through single A and double A and triple A and the whole nonsense? Like, do you think they should just sit
Well-
him in? You draft a guy. And year
Depends on the
one,
guy.
maybe sit him in double A, and then year two, triple A, and boom, he's up. Like,
There
I
have
think
been
they
guys.
should start doing that.
There are guys that as a Yankee fan years ago, you see when they brought them up too early and they weren't ready, and they just never recovered. There are some guys that happens to. There's an art to
There is.
grooming a player to go from league to league and going to a higher level.
I mean,
You have
look
to
at
develop
Aaron
certain
Judge.
skills.
Aaron Judge is somebody that took time to get to the majors, but even when he was in the majors, I can tell you there is a large difference between his rookie year and now, and I have seen the development. He's changed his swing. He's changed his workout routines from what we know. He's changed the way he's a leader, the way he plays the game. So I think the problem with that is if you
But
throw
that's
him
with
in the
any
fire,
rookie.
but the problem is if you throw him into the fire too quickly, it could shatter their confidence, at least with a guy like Judge. Now, he's just an example, but he worked his way up, and he earned his spot, and now he got to here where he is.
Now, an example of a guy like you're saying, John, who got thrown up really quickly and it's done well, Bobby Witt Jr. I think he was only in the minors 1 year.
Julio Rodriguez.
Machado wasn't in the minors very long.
Yeah, there are some guys that they can do that. You
Vlad
have
Guerrero,
to be a special player.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. wasn't in the minors very long.
Those are basically the stars.
But you know what? And you look at Vlad Guerrero, he grew up with his father being a baseball player. Now, that's just one player, of course, and these other guys didn't. But, it's not that easy. I mean, if you look at all the players in the league and you pool them and think about how many, had to take their licks, so to speak, in the minor leagues to get to where they are now, it's a good majority. And I would love your idea, John. It's just my fear being that I don't know that it would work. I don't know. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that it won't. There's no knowing. The fear for me is that as an organization, I might ruin a player. And so for me, the way I would think about it if I'm them is it's not worth the risk of ruining that player's potential career by bringing him up a year too early. I would rather him sit down in AAA for an extra year and him turn into the next Aaron Judge as opposed to you bring him up too early and he's just another nobody. And again, you're not wrong. There's no right or wrong about this. It's just that would be my fear. So for me, that's why I'm like, I don't know that I would do that.
I just feel bad that guys have to sit in the minors for 4 years a lot of times before they ever get an opportunity. And it's you see these other leagues where that's not a thing.
They signed up for it.
I don't know if I feel bad that they're getting paid to play.
No, minor leagues they don't get paid. They don't get paid very well in the minors.
Yeah, but you're taking a chance on yourself, John. You don't ever take a chance on yourself. I have a question. You taking a chance on yourself tonight?
It's not about taking a chance on yourself. You don't you don't even make enough to make a living as a minor leaguer.
John, so our audience, tune out for a second. John, are you making enough to make a living right now, or are you taking a chance on yourself?
I'm barely skirting by.
But that's his point.
So there you go.
I'm not taking a chance on myself where I work right now.
But no, I mean, it's what the way I see it, and I'll leave my comments at this is they sign up for it, and I understand that they don't get paid enough, and I'm not here to argue that. That point, I think you're right about that, John. But these
if
kids,
you gave a minor leaguer
these kids
to
know
a year,
but these kids know what they're getting themselves involved with if they so choose to get to go to the MLB draft, to get potentially drafted, and then be in the minor leagues. So it may take them 4 years, but they know that that's the risk that they're taking, and if they're willing to take it, that's on them.
And they also have the option to play D1 college ball and get an education and not have that same issue and then, move up quicker.
Again, you're not wrong, John. It's just the way I see it simply is if they're willing to take the risk, that's just on them. You can't blame baseball.
Yeah, but remember, as an athlete, your window is very small.
So the more you're not a baseball player, you have a bigger window as a baseball player.
No,
than any other
doesn't
sport.
matter what. An athlete's still an athlete. You're going through the workouts. You're going through all that stuff that wears you down.
Again, but they know this. They know these risks going in.
There's a difference between taking a chance on yourself when you're just talking on a camera, as opposed to you're doing something physically demanding that wears you down. I can talk all day.
This is demanding. My voice
is very demanding.
My voice.
Not for me.
This is mentally taxing on me, John.
Because you got to sit with me for an hour.
Yes, exactly.
That's worse than working out for 3 hours.
John, it's one of the most difficult things to do, but yet I do it every single week, and I enjoy every minute of it.
What's
so
hard?
Take that for
we have our next segment coming up. We got our guest coming in, David Brody. Welcome to the show, David.
Welcome,
guys.
To the madness.
I heard something that I never thought I would hear on this show. I heard the words, "You're not wrong, John."
It's rare. Write this date down in history.
David, you are in rare air, just like the rest of
Learn
us are in
something
rare
new
air
every
seeing
week.
Pujols hit 700. These things don't happen every day. It's very special when it does.
Exactly. You guys talked about giving the baseballs back. I'm sure you
No, not
pointed
yet.
that out.
No.
We were talking about the best home run hitters, and we were talking about Pujols, but that is on the docket. But
Yeah.
if you,
Well, I mean, Pujols is right. The ball, it belongs to the fan. And
agree.
the guy who gave Pujols the baseball back is not only an idiot, but he's irresponsible because now I don't know if this gentleman is married. I don't know if he has kids, but I can tell you if he's with a woman and I'm the lady, I'm going to look and go, wait a minute. What do you do of that baseball? And you just gave it to a guy who has $6 quadrillion? You're a fool.
Yeah, but
I-
there's something more to it than money. Like,
No,
No.
but I think we actually touched on this a little bit last week. And
Yeah.
but no, I mean, what if this guy has kids who want to go to college and he's unable to put these kids through school? So, I don't know what age, hypothetically, maybe the kids are teenagers. And then in a few years, the kids are like, well, I'm working at a convenience store because mom and dad didn't have enough money to put me through college. And then dad can say to the kids, well, yeah, I would have been able to, but there was this baseball and it belonged to Albert Pujols and I had to give it back to him. I know you kids could have had a great education, but you know what? In the next lifetime, you'll be fine. That's crazy.
John, you just said minor league baseball players should be paid more. Money's important. But yet, the guy who gave away the ball, it belongs to Pujols, who has millions.
It does. I would give it to him for free.
God,
I would not accept anything.
What I'll say is I respect what Pujols said because what he said is the souvenirs belong to the fans. That's what it is.
Yep.
I think he understands. When I get up to bat, I hit the baseball. If it goes into the seats, too bad. It's no longer mine. It was never my property to begin with. It's theirs. If they want to give it to me, hey, that's on them.
I'm
not going to be the one to ask them because they got it fair and square. There's
what Paul said was perfect.
I love
it.
You know what? If he was so concerned, he could have bought out all the outfield seats.
He could
and put his people out there.
You're absolutely right.
The entire outfield.
Hey, so
center.
You say that. I was watching
the whole thing.
I was watching the Yankee game yesterday. They're in Toronto. I'm not kidding. I don't know if it's true, but there was a whole outfield section with one guy sitting there. It looks like that guy may have bought the entire section just so if the Judge ball goes there, he gets it.
That's smart.
There's no guarantee he gets it either because other people run.
It's worth the try.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. And I have to judge what I'm seeing. Roger Maris's kid has been sitting next to Aaron Judge's mom for what seems to be the last 60 games. And I don't get it.
It's a little weird.
Maybe I'm just not a smart guy, but I don't get this. I don't understand this. So, Judge hits the home run and his mom, as you would expect, is going to go nuts. Wow, this is great. My son has just done it. Congratulations. Everybody high five. Yeah, including the guy next to me whose father had the record. Yeah, give me a hug. Give me a high five. Aren't you happy?
Your dad's record.
It's my dad who's out of the record books now. No, I'm not happy.
Yeah,
it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
It's got to be a little awkward for her.
Well, the next one only ties it. So
still,
but he'll bottom line.
He'll be there once he'll be there for 62.
Right. He's not going to leave at 61.
He's going to go, I got 61. I'm happy. Let me leave now.
And Roger
hasn't hit it yet.
There. Roger is in baseball heaven. And Roger is like, son, Roger Maris Jr., you're a fool. You're as dumb as the guy who gave the ball back, to Judge the other day. No, you don't do that. And look, I get the class thing is to say, we wish him the best. Great. We wish him the best. You should say that. But to sit there next to Aaron Judge's mother just blows my mind. Who thought this was a good idea?
I feel like that's a waste of time too. If you're that kid.
If he shows up for one or two games, fine. Nothing weird about it. If it happens to be the game, it happens to be
But
the
why
game.
would
and
he
I
want
totally
to
get
be
it.
there?
But
Jake,
every
why would he
game,
want to be there?
I feel like he's
Why?
wasting his
I
time.
wouldn't.
but that's what I'm saying. Look, if it happens once, he just happens to be there for one of the games because he wanted to go just to see the team play, and
Sure.
Judge does it, it's
Sure.
fine. But to be there every single game, it's just kind of weird. It's like, I think if I'm Judge's mother, it kind of ruins the moment because I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry, but yeah, my son just kicked your father's
Right,
record.
like what is she supposed to do when Aaron Judge eventually hits this home run, which might be like in March or April the way he's going? What is Mrs. Judge supposed to do again with Roger Maris's kid? Oh, do I shake your hand? Do I high five? Do I hug? What do I do?
Do I say I'm sorry?
So sorry. I feel terrible. You know, with what your father went through when he played for the Yankees and he lost his hair and it was horrible because everybody hated the guy. And now, you know, I'm standing next to you and my son just tied your dad. I'm sorry. This is just not a good thing, is it? No, it's not a good thing. It's a ridiculous thing.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, it's just bad.
It's a
I
weird
don't like
situation.
it. I mean, I get, you know, the thought process of it. It makes it look good. The families are there. But if you're that family, if you're the Maris family, like you said, do you want to sit there and say, congratulations, you beat my dad who's dead, and you know all the struggles he had? That's a hard thing, especially when you get into multiple games of doing it. You do it one night, you do it 2 nights. Now they're, you know, in Toronto. That's all right.
It's a little weird.
But did you notice that there's a seat in between them? Did you notice that?
No, and I can't imagine what it's for.
It's either for Elijah or for Roger Maris Sr. I'm not sure. But
either way, a little bit, it's even weirder now.
Yes, there is a seat there.
It somehow manages to get weirder and weirder with every passing second.
Exactly. Do we have time for one more topic?
We sure do.
Speaking of weird, so, you know, we've got these storms in Florida, hurricanes, we had a tornado warning. Tom Brady and his teammates are down here in South Florida because Tampa is apparently going to get hit.
Yep.
And his kids are here. Who isn't here with Tom Brady? Again, Tommy's here. Little kitties are here. Oh, Madame Giselle. She's not here because
I wonder why.
Upset because her husband retired. And how audacious of this guy to come out of retirement and play yet another season in the NFL. This is like his 38th year or something like that. But, you know, I think Tom Brady has done enough where if he wants to unretire, I think the world should say, you know, you're the greatest. Go play another year. I just don't think, and guys, if I'm wrong, stop me. I don't think that Tom Brady is the worst catch in the world. I really don't. If you're Giselle, you look at this guy, okay, let's look at the boxes. He's not a bad-looking guy. He earns a good living. Even when he's playing, he's off about, I don't know, 26 weeks a year. I don't think that's too bad. I'm guessing, I could be wrong, I'm guessing that Giselle probably never changed a diaper in her life. I'm thinking they might have a nanny, 2, 3, or 4, along with 2 cooks and chauffeurs and people like that. And the fact she went public and she threw her husband under the bus. It's like, this is terrible. You should be home with the kids.
No, the thing that will always bother me most about this, and it's real simple. They got married how many years ago now? She's been married to him all this time. You signed up for it, woman. If you don't like it, you shouldn't have married him.
Right.
Because if you know anything about Tom Brady, and I'm somebody that has never even met the guy, I can tell you just as a watcher of football, he has a work ethic like nobody else. And getting him to stop is going to be impossible. I will be the first person to tell you, I've been saying for 10 years now, and that's not even an exaggeration. He's 45, so really since his mid-30s, I've been saying, next year will be his last year. Next year will be his last year. If you know anything about him, you know he's just almost never going to stop, it feels like. So for her to be upset is so ludicrous. You know how your husband is. You know he loves the game. why would you think
You know this is what you signed up for.
Right, but why would you act surprised if he decided I'm just not done yet? Okay, don't be that surprised. This is how Tom Brady is. This is his personality. This is his life.
So I love that you brought up this topic. Last night I was scrolling through some news articles, and I ran into an article about Magic Johnson and his comeback. So this kind of fits to that a little bit. Magic Johnson had AIDS. He was out of the NBA for a few years, and he had to convince his wife that he wanted to come back, and she wasn't down with it. She didn't want him to start playing again. So they had an agreement that he would only come back for 1 year, and he had to pay her $1 million. So, Tom Brady's getting off pretty good with this. He's not paying Giselle because Giselle makes more money.
And $1 million back then was a lot more than $1 million.
I don't understand that. I don't even get that. So Magic Johnson, who was making all the money, and I'm sure Cookie in her day was a very good worker at Jack in the Box or wherever she might have been. But he's paying her $1 million for what? So he can go to work?
So he could go play again, and he was only allowed to play 1 year.
Can I just say something? It's called a man card. Okay, Magic Johnson, go out and buy one.
But yeah, so he gave Cookie $1 million so he could play 1 year. They lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Rockets, and that was it. The whole Giselle situation, though, it's just weird. The only thing I could think of, maybe she thought he was going to be home with the kids, and the kids wanted to have their dad around. But being a football player, it's probably the one sport where you have the most time at home.
You get 26 weeks vacation. How much vacation do you get, JB, at your job? How much? What do you get? 2 weeks, 3 weeks a year? Jake, John, what do you guys get? 2-3 weeks?
I get about 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Jake?
I'm at school, so
you're in school. All right.
I don't have an excuse.
You get a lot of time off. You're in school.
Yeah.
Stay in school.
Yeah. So, Tom Brady has a good job. With this job, he gets, like $25 million a year, and he gets like 26 vacation weeks per calendar year. I don't think that's a bad gig. He's around a lot more than 99.99% of the male workers in this country. And, look, she's entitled to her opinion. It's wrong, but she's entitled to her opinion. But to me, the worst part of it is when she went public with this, really, my Tommy isn't around. He isn't with the kids as much as he should be. You know what? Here's an idea, lady. Shut up.
So what does she feel about the Fox contract that he's going to be announcing games? He's going to be away doing that. Was that okay?
Right. $30 million a year, whatever.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Right. That's the only time where I wonder, if what she's saying is genuine or she's using that for something else. Maybe her concerns are legitimate, that she's afraid he gets hurt, that he's not around with the kids full time, like being retired. But at the same time, is she okay with the $30 million for Fox? Because she can't have it both ways.
Yeah, and you know what? You can't really have Tom Brady to yourself. Tom Brady is.
Can't lock Tom Brady in the.
When you're a celebrity like that, you don't have that luxury.
Right. Exactly. You want an anonymous schlub? You can find plenty of them at the YMCA.
I wanted to give you guys some Magic Johnson insight because I had no idea about this. And I'm sure nobody on this panel had any idea. Magic Johnson was getting paid by the Lakers as a player all the way up until 2009. Did you know that?
He had a Bonilla deal.
I was going to say Bobby Bonilla.
He had a Bobby Bonilla deal all the way up to 2009. So here's his money. So he stopped playing in 90, and then he came back in 95. He still got paid in 92, 93, and 94. Even though he didn't play, he got paid $2.5 million, 2.5, 2.5, and $1 million. Those years he wasn't playing. He wasn't even in the league, basically. And then after he retired, he got $1 million the year he played 32 games. And then after that, he got $1 million every year from 1996 all the way to 2009.
That's all that was for tax.
No, I know. I just thought that was interesting. I never really knew that about Magic Johnson, that he was still getting paid the years he wasn't in basketball, and then the years after he retired until 2009.
He had a good agent that realized the way to get the most out of his contract. That's genius.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Pay less taxes.
I just always enjoy whenever I find out about those the AI deal where you see a deal where he gets paid for life You know, like those deals are just funny to me.
Yeah.
I'm still
So-
confused as to why he was giving Cookie $1 million. I don't
To
understand.
shut her up. That's probably
Somebody
what it is.
please
It sounds
explain
terrible.
that to me.
I'm
Listen,
confused how he was still married.
Well,
That's
that's
also
what
a
it
good
too,
question.
based on the rumors that we've heard. Yes.
He wanted peace at home, but he wanted to play basketball. $1 million. Look at how
Wanted
much he's
peace
making
on
a
the
million.
road
You're
and
not
peace at
playing.
home.
You're going to give your wife money so you can go and enjoy your life? Really?
He sure
Sounds a little
enjoyed
ridiculous.
life.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, that's-
Well,
all
that
right.
was fun.
Well, guys, we're about out of time. John, you want to start us off tonight?
Blue Hawks 13.
David, where can people find you?
Sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. David at sportsbroadcastingcoach.com.
JB_ the program. Come back at 11 to watch Confidential. Jake?
Guys can find me at Jake_Malik on Twitter. More importantly, as you see going across the bottom of the screen, Instagram and Twitter is Sideline Sport 1, YouTube and Facebook is Sideline Sports. We are on TikTok. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, DBTV, absolutely everywhere. Just look up Sideline Sports and you'll find us. But on that note, everybody have a good one, and we'll see you next week.